Okay, so starting off with Jensen for video 2. Nice. Nice. Yeah, this is looking good. I like the seam that you got going through there. I like you got some sharp edges here. I'm going to point out a couple of kind of small things that I notice. Let me go and look at some of this first. So yeah, I like that. That's so the few things that I kind of notice. One is that this piece here just feels like it's kind of floating. I don't mind it too bad back here, but I think if you could get that just a little bit tighter to the shape, I think it would help. I don't like, otherwise it feels like it might peel off if it weren't just a little bit closer to it. I don't know. It doesn't have to be one piece. I like that you decided to go with this different option here to make it sort of a pad that is wrapped around it. I think the big thing is just making it feel like it's sort of adhering to the surface. And like right here, you can kind of see a little bit of a gap going on. And that's just going to be some nitpicky stuff to get that in there so it doesn't feel quite like it's peeling off. Still feel like the back of this is just a touch boxy, but I don't actually have the Dremel tool here with me, so I don't mind that. Like as a design element, if that's part of the design, I don't really mind that. Something I do notice though, both here and here, is it kind of feels like it flattens out a little bit before the seam, and so just to keep some of that roundedness right along that edge just a little bit, so it doesn't feel like it kind of comes to a peak right there at the meeting point. And that would just be a really slight nudge. And the only other little thing I noticed is kind of how this, I guess really what it is to me is it feels like these are a little, this is hard to kind of put into words, but it feels like I can feel how that was modeled, right? All the rest of this piece feels a little too soft, and that part feels a little too sharp, and I can feel sort of that transition right there. And so I feel like it needs, like, that piece needs to be just a little less sharp on the top and a little bit more sharp around the point where it is kind of coming up out of the cylinder. Does that make sense? And so maybe another edge, another span in the or another edge loop in the extrusion there, and maybe a little less of a tight edge loop there to sort of soften and let that sort of round off and fall off a little bit. I also feel like maybe just having a little bit of detail in the center here, whether it was just a slight extrusion in or something, could really add a little bit extra to this and make it feel a little less like a cylinder with those pieces extruded that's been smoothed. You know, I just give it a little bit more detail in there to kind of give it that feeling of an actual manufactured or machined piece. So Jonah, but overall, Jensen, that was really nice. So, so Jonah, let's flip through yours here a little bit. Yeah, these turned out pretty good. So I'll point out some of the issues I'm noticing. Notice them in a couple other people's too. I feel like that ridge is a little sharp. I like it here. I like it sharp there, but then it feels like it kind of travels all the way down the object. And you kind of feel like you're getting like a little bit of a flat spot here and here. And so just going in there and kind of rounding off that volume, making that feel just a little bit more organic and a little less boxy. And I notice it along the handle there too, this really kind of sharp edge that does that all the way down. At some point, like, it's alright to have it right there, but you kind of want to feel that sort of spread out and get softer as it goes down, so it doesn't feel just like this hard edge that travels all the way down. To me, you get rid of that stuff so it doesn't feel like the reason you're getting those shapes were because of the limitation of the modeling, right? You want to make it look like you're able to bend and twist this to any shape you want, and right there that feels like you couldn't get that seam out not because you wanted that seam there, but because you couldn't get it out when you were trying to model it. And so just sort of softening that a little bit and getting a little bit less of a lumpy handle here, get a little bit more organicness to the bottom of that. Organicness, is that a word? Anyway, I think that I can't tell from all angles. These feel a little too soft too. I like the roundedness on the edge, but then it gets a little fatter in the center, and that feels a little inaccurate to how that would probably be made. So it's sort of a push and pull. Like certain areas you want to feel very mechanically created, and other areas you want it to feel kind of organically like formed. And this is an area where, although it's a nice oval, I would think that it would be kind of a perfect oval. And even though this is made out of, you know, the same piece of plastic, you would think that that would get a little softer so your hand could wrap around it. I feel like I'd like one more shot of it just so I can see kind of what's going on under here around this area. Because I have a feeling that you probably also have, you're probably showing it from the most flattering angles, but you probably also could work a little bit more in the grip area here of how your fingers wrap around it. So. Kaylin. Alright, so let me flip through these a little bit. So I think some of the similar comments that we were getting earlier, the bottom of this just feels really boxy and rigid to me under here. And so I think we could, like, that would be, if the way the tool works is you wrap your thumb and finger around the dip here so you can press that button and make adjustments, and to me that would be really hard and awkward to wrap it around that. So that feels like that needs to be softer, and this just feels a little too rigid all the way back through here. Now you can think of this as a redesign, but it's feeling like the model was fighting you there, and this is just what what you were able to get by the time it was over with. So I really think getting some more roundedness to the bottom here. I like that you put the holes in here, and I like that you got the sides cut out. I think this piece in the back needs a little bit more detail. I think it had like some ridges going around it, and maybe something in the center to kind of give us a some more like I don't know what the phrase I'm looking for. It's like tactile. Like if I look at it, it doesn't just look like a cylinder that's kind of smoothed. It looks like something that was made in a in a factory and pieced together. I can actually feel the manufactured element to it, and so a lot of times that'll have extra indentions in it. It'll have like maybe even text on it or something. But the biggest thing to me, like even if you hold your hand over the bottom part of it, all of this stuff on the top looks really good, and the bits and this piece here look really good. It's just this hard edge that goes all the way around the bottom, and the seam that goes through the center, I can't tell if that's intentional or not, because it does kind of have a seam. We could kind of work on that. It also feels like this is a separate piece, and so those are some of the little things that we could go back in there and sort of fight with. But overall, it's a great first run on this, and I think we could beef it up a little bit more though if we have some more time on it. So Matt, oh goodness, can't get the little ridges in there. It's kind of neat. I'm assuming you did that just by extruding them, getting them really detailed and extruding them. Ooh, okay, so I think we've kind of talked about this one. Those are the only two images we got. Oh, we got a turntable in here. Awesome. Okay. So the things I kind of notice are the areas where it feels like we're getting a little bit of pinching going on. And so you see these like seams that go down the side there. Or they're not seams, it's more like creases, like these little like edges there. And if we go back to your wireframe, I think we can see why some of those are in there. See how that kind of bunches up there? We got a whole bunch of edges right in there. And the same there, like your edges get kind of close together. Those are just going to cause that area to crease, I guess is the phrase we would be looking for. It's like it's just the likelihood of that being evenly distributed is less likely when there's more of them, and so you're not going to get quite of this like rounded bubbly shape. You're going to get these areas where it bunches together and gets a little bit of a harder edge when you smooth it. And so I think that's why you're getting like little pinching areas here, little pinching areas here, and this area here is probably because of that pole there. So having said that, you're getting a really good overall form on this. It's it's those little nitpicky areas that are causing you some issues. Yours kind of looks a little bit more like a drill, and I guess if that's a design decision, that's cool. But if it's just fighting with the model to get the right shape, that's something we need to kind of address. I like that you got these little grooves in here, but the big thing is just kind of getting those little kinks out of there. And so I have a feeling that's a combination of fighting with the topology and fighting with the form, and it seems like it just got a little too dense in areas, and I think we could simplify it, because really, like this area here, like I don't know why that has to be that complicated to get this form. I feel like we could just reduce it. Like, to me, you need this edge that's, let's get a different color. You need this edge that's going down here, right, and goes around, and then you need whatever topology is going to make this up. But right here, like, it just seems like it would be automatic that the edge loops would just be going, in some way or another across here. Whether this is going up and down here, or whether it is, whether your edges are going up and down this way, or maybe a combination of both, right? When this topology is all crisscrossy this way, it just makes me think that there would be a simpler way of getting that, and so I think we should maybe look into that and see, like, how could we recreate this mesh here, or simplify this mesh here, to get topology that's just going to help you get that form easier. Overall, though, I think it's like, again, I feel like you fought with this one a long time and got a pretty good form out of it. We just need to clean it up a little bit more to get the details. Is this just the same one again? Same view. Oh, turn it that way. Nice. So I like that you did the little turntable videos. Those are pretty helpful to be able to see it in multiple angles. So Paul, let's move forward here on yours. Oh yeah. This thing here is feeling a little big to me, and I think that, again, this maybe not. Maybe this is part of it, but this ridge and this ridge, I guess they are kind of in there a little bit. So like, that's not too bad. I feel like that gets a little pinchy right there, if that makes sense. It's like you get this edge going here and this edge going here, and they kind of pinch right there. I think you got some wrinkliness happening like here, like right in there, and even probably a little higher than that, like if you look right in there. And I think there's a little bit of an inconsistency along this line of what that seam looks like. I like that you try to get it in there, but it feels like it's like kind of sharp and wide there, and then it gets softer and thinner here. There's a little bit of a ridge coming down there and going under here that I feel like you could probably soften out just a little bit. And then there's a little bit of a change right there. Like, you feel that? Like, it's almost like a little peak right there. And so I think softening that out a little bit. But overall, this one's looking pretty neat. Now when we go to the side, I think that the handle maybe is a little too wide. Just overall, I'm not sure if it may be that wide in areas, but I don't think it's that wide all the way down. And you got this, got something going on there. I'm not sure if that's part of the model or if that's a mistake in where you were trying to get the seam in the center. I like how this back piece is looking from what I can see of it. Oh, not too far there. Yeah, I like that. Again, I think you can probably get a little bit more detail inside the center of it, but overall, yeah, it's looking pretty good. Got a little bit of like some creases and some wrinkles in here, and I think that's a similar example of what other people are seeing, and that like your pieces are a little too some edges are closer together than others, and you're just getting a little bit of wrinkling because of that. Okay, Randolph. Alright. Interesting. So I think you said you played around a little bit in Mudbox on this one. And I can kind of tell. I like the top view of that. That's looking pretty good. I think it needs, like, to me, there's two things that I'm seeing in here that I think need a little bit of work. One is this is still feeling a little too boxy. This area here is still feeling a little too boxy, and like I'm still feeling the underlying object. And then other areas are feeling a little too soft, like that's not machined hard enough. Like it's looking pretty good around here, like that's nice and like sharp. But here these are just feeling kind of mushy, a little too soft and clay. So you have to be really hard. You can do hard surface stuff inside of Mudbox and ZBrush. You just have to really push to get those crisp points in it as well, and not just everything feeling, you know, like clay. So, and Taylor, yeah. It's looking pretty good. I think you're getting a little bit of lumpiness in a few spots, and again, I'm still kind of feeling the boxiness along the back here. Like I can feel the, like right there, this line there that's feeling a little too rigid to me. And you can kind of feel the box that it's made up out of there. So if you can soften that just a little bit, I think it would help. I think we're getting a little bit of some like wrinkling or you know, creasing happening there and there. And that's probably just a really slight like pinching in the how close together the edges are. So like if you know you have two parallel edges, what's probably happening is in those areas they're just one of them's getting a little closer to the other and then moving back out. And so just increasing that gap a little bit more, I think will probably help out in areas like that and that. It's also making a little bit of an inconsistent edge to flow down through here, so you'd expect that to kind of flow like that. And you're getting close to it, but I think just tweaking that around just a little bit. Again, just a little bit of lumpiness right in there. And this is very, very nitpicky, but it feels like a little bit of a sunken in place right through there. I think you could probably add a little bit more. I'm saying a little bit a lot today, aren't I? On this twisty thing here, I think it had like some ridges around the outside there that would probably be best to model those. You may be able to get them with a bump or a normal, but you know, I would probably go ahead and put those in. But overall, this turned out really good. So let's check anybody else on here. Awesome. Well, this turned out really well, everybody. Let me put in the grades, and I'll post these feedback videos very soon, and just keep up the good work. Talk to you soon.